Welcome to the fourth video of our Boost Your Rehab series. This video is about the connection between pain and your brain. This is of course all built upon our cup analogy. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please go and watch the first 3 videos. In the first video, I briefly mentioned the biopsychosocial model of pain. And I told you that you could forget about it. However, I also told you to remember that we like to have a full understanding of your pain experience, and that mainly causes us to zoom out and have a look at the biological, psychological, and social aspects of pain. And today, we're going to have a deeper look at the psychological aspect of pain, which is actually a quite complex subject, so I'll try to make it a bit more simplified and a bit more practical for you today so that we can understand what pain is, what it tries to tell you, and how to deal with it. So you could compare pain to an alarm system. For example, an alarm system in your home that warns you for burglars. However, you might have set it off yourself a couple of times. And then you might also know that it doesn't really have a burglar sensor. It has a movement sensor, and it tells you, hey, something is going on. This might be dangerous. Go and act on it. Likewise, your body doesn't really have a sensor for damage. It doesn't really sense, hey, there is a problem here. You are doing damage. In this case, your hand only senses a change of temperature. It is your brain that interprets this change in temperature as potentially dangerous, and that causes you to experience pain. So your hand here only feels a change of heat, but it could also feel a change of pressure or change of chemical substances. Your brain then predicts if this is potentially harmful. It gives that pain signal in order for you to act. So in this case, pull your hand away. But if you act on that, and if you look at your hand in this case, you will notice that your hand didn't catch on fire, but also no damage was done. You have no burn marks. And that is because that pain works predictive. And it's very important that it does that, because if it would only hurt after you actually put your hand in the flame, after the damage would have been done, we would always be too late. So pain predicts. It tries to protect you from potential harm. And in the case of this flame, that seems quite clear. But in the case of movements, lifting weights, doing physical activity, this becomes quite complex again. So to predict if a movement is potentially dangerous or harmful, it factors in all these kind of things that are very cognitive. All these things that you know, all these things that you have experienced, the ideas that you have about yourself. For example, if you have the idea that you are very fragile or very injury prone, that might cause you to experience more intense pain or more often get pain sensations. Because your brain factors in the fact that you feel injury prone, that you feel fragile. It might also get influenced by your peers. So if I as a trainer tell you, hey, when you do these deadlifts, keep your back straight, otherwise you might hurt your back. Your brain takes that influence and takes that to decide if a movement could be potentially painful or not. So we now have a heightened sensitivity of movement in the spine. This could be me as your trainer, but this could also be influenced by the people working out with you, or just a friend or your partner. It also factors in what happened to you in the past. So if you had an injury during a certain activity or while lifting a certain weight, this is all taken into account in predicting, is this next movement, or is this next exercise, or is this next weight potentially dangerous or not? It also gets influenced by anything that we read online or in magazines. It all factors in all these things to predict, is this activity safe or is it potentially harmful? And that might cause you to have more or less, or more intense or less intense pain sensations. And you might already see where this can become quite problematic. I like to compare it to these electric bicycles that really have a very sensitive alarm system. You might know these when you just walk by, you brush against them, or you look at them a certain way and the alarm goes off. The problem is here, you're not trying to steal this bike. The problem here is not in the stealing. The problem is in the sensitivity of the alarm system. Like with these bikes, if you have these factors working against you, so if you feel very fragile, or if people have been warning you a bit too much, if you have a lot of negative experiences, or if you have been reading from different sources that have been warning you about all these things, your alarm sensitivity can be quite problematic, and fire off give you more intense pain signals than are actually necessary. And if we look at what we talked about in the previous video, this might cause your traffic light to stay on red, even though your body can actually handle or can actually recover from this stress, it stays on red. And just like in traffic, when your traffic light stays on red, there is no progress. So we actually call this kinesiophobia. And how do we fix this? We can fix this by knowledge, which I will try with these videos, but also positive experience. And we actually use this thing called graded exposure, which comes from treating other phobias, like arachnophobia, in this case, fear of spiders, where you gradually expose yourself to things that seem harmful to you at the time. So in the case of arachnophobia, you would first look at a photo of a spider, and if you really have a phobia, your body might tense up and really act like there is danger. Until after a time, you might notice, hey, it's just a photo. Nothing is going on. I'm not in danger. Your body might relax. The next step is, for example, being in the same room as a spider. And then you might stand close to it, or you might even hold it. In graded exposure, we're going to gradually expose you to the things that you fear. In movement, you might not necessarily fear those movements, but the overreaction, the overprotection system in your body might be the same as in arachnophobia. So for example, if you hurt your back flexing your spine, this might cause you to be a bit overprotective and avoid this position. And it might be very sensitive for you. So how are we going to treat that? We're going to gradually expose you to spinal flexion. So first we might do a stretch like child's pose. And in this child's pose, all we're doing is telling your body, hey, it's okay. See, we're doing this. Nothing is going on. There is no harm. It is okay. You can relax now. If it relaxes, then we might do the cat-cow stretch where we dynamically move into spinal flexion. Then we might even load up that spinal flexion by crunching, doing ab exercises. And in the end, we might even hang some weight on us as we do in a Jefferson curl and really bend that back, challenge that bended back. So this is the equivalent of letting a spider walk on your hand. What's very important here again is that dose, because if you go too fast, the body tenses up more and creates a negative experience here. What's very important here, that even though our body can handle quite a lot of physiology, oh my god,